All right, folks, here we are, putting a handle onto Rick's knife. Now, he has a lovely piece of brown mallee here. Has this beautiful swirl of colour, a bit of two-tone in it. There's a little bit of two-tone on this side, but not as much. And there's certainly no two-tone through the centre. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to cut a piece from each side and try and save some of that two-tone, because that's the really attractive part of this wood. So rather than cutting them together as I normally would, I'm gonna cut each side and use those. As you can see, the timber in the center is pretty attractive just by itself, and that will carry through to those edges. So even if we lose the two-tone, I reckon that's going to look pretty schmick. Cutting handle scales is never fun. Doing it on a saw like this, it can be very dangerous. Do not try this at home, especially not without the safety guard. I've got to pull the safety guard off so I can show everyone how it's done. Our next step is just to make sure everything's perfectly flat, fits together well. As you can see, there's a little bit of gapping in there at the moment, so we'll just use the flat platen on the belt grinder just to make sure we've got it all smooth. So now we have a nice tight fit up between them. As you can see, the odd part about doing either side cuts is that the grain doesn't match up here. But I mean, it doesn't come out too bad, so I'm not too disappointed in it. After we ground it, we want to make sure of our dry fit. So as you can see, we've got a nice tight junction here. If we're right up on that coloured edge though, the material's pretty thin. So unfortunately, we're going to have to lose some of that colour and just creep it up a little bit. That way I'm a little bit thicker on the timber here than I am on the brass, which unfortunately means we're probably going to miss all the colour on the other side. But as I said, it comes up to a lovely piece of timber without the colour on it anyway. Unfortunately, working with natural stuff means you've got to do what is best. May not catch the feature that you wanted, but it's got to work first and then it's got to look pretty. Now we're up to the glue up section. Now the way I do this is different from the way a lot of people do it. I glue it in a 3-part process. It takes longer. It takes me 3 days to get it done. But it makes sure that all my joints are as tightly closed as possible. What you find is if you drill all your pinholes and then go to put it all together, then you often end up with a little bit of gap there. And it doesn't need to be much gap before it becomes pretty ordinary looking. So that's why I started doing it this way. All right, so we're going to mix up our glue. And at the moment, I'm using G-Flex from West Systems. I've also used the Blade Bond system. Both of them work well. Equal amounts of glue and hardener. And then just mix them together. This is a 24-hour set glue, so I've got lots of time to play with. We're going to use some isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol. Just going to get that on a cloth. We're going to wipe down any surface that's going to be glued. Just want to make sure it's nice and clean, no possible oil contamination or anything like that. Our next step is we're going to make sure before we start sticking everything that we got everything the right way. And that's the way I've decided to do it. I'm going to put that light section down. Hopefully we'll pick up a bit of that lighter band. So let's glue that up. So just going to put some glue on the handle. Now it doesn't need a lot. You're going to put some clamp pressure on it. So it's going to squeeze out. Just a thin smear of glue. Okay. Put our timber in place. Make sure everything's nice and tight. What I use for this first stage of gluing is what's called a Cleco clamp. C-L-E-C-O. They are actually a panel beater style of clamp for doing sheet metal work. One on from each side, and that's got plenty of pulling power. And again, we just make sure that everything's fitting up snug, all nice and snug. Okay, so we'll let that cure overnight and come back and look at it again tomorrow. Once it's dry, we'll drill the pinholes from the side that we've got free, and then we'll cut off some of the excess handle timber. Here we are at the glue up for day 2. Just going to give everything a wipe again with alcohol. Now you'll notice I've got a couple of registration marks. One there, which is where it goes against the bolster, and one here, which is the side that I've left on. So it matches up like so. And I know that I'm matching the green up. So again, a nice smear of glue. So straight in at the bolster, flush on the underside. And then we just clamp that in place. Make sure it's flush against that bolster there. Still in line. Once everything's lined up nicely, we put our second clamp on. And I always use a smaller clamp at the back, and that way any drips go down towards the back of the timber. All right, there we go, and we'll be back tomorrow to finish that. Okay, drilling the hole all the way through now. And again, cutting off the excess timber. Easier to take it off now than having to grind it off later. All right, folks, here we are, day 3, the final day of glue up. As you can see, I've got a few to do, even though I've only shown this one through the process. I've been working on the giveaway knives all at the same time. So, our last bit of glue up is our pins. So, we want to put a bit of glue on the pin, pop it in from one side, glue on it again, get that glue in the hole, give it a twist as we go in to drag as much glue through as we can. And there we go. Same again. Glue from one side. Get in that hole. Glue from the other side. And there we go. So that is it. 24 hours time, these will be set and I can start shaping handles. So thank you very much everyone for watching, and bye for now.